All right, this week we are talking about hormone health. And so, as part of the Infinity 7 coaching community, every week we're going to talk about different education kind of topics. And hormone health, whenever I talk to people about it, seems to be the way I talk about it seems to be different to what they were expecting. So, I focus on dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. So, sometimes you'll hear people call them the happy hormones. And they're really important for our physiological health, our mental health, emotional health. And if they're not regulated daily, then other hormones like testosterone and cortisol and our thyroid and estrogen and all the other kind of hormones that we maybe see highlighted a bit in whatever nutrition or influenced kind of videos, is they're going to be impacted. So to me, they're like down the road. If we really want to be healthy and feel good, then we've got to talk about dopamine, endorphins, serotonin, and oxytocin first. Dopamine, you'll often hear it called the reward hormone, and that's probably really oversimplified, because that's not what it is. Our bodies create the most dopamine in anticipation of a reward. And there's a really, really important distinction there, because it's not about completing the task, it's about getting excited about the reward that I might get or might not get and don't know when I might get, in terms of motivating myself towards this behavior. That's what dopamine is. It's your motivation. So you don't have unmotivated and motivated people. You have people that have connected with how to regulate their dopamine in a positive way or a negative way. And I think there's a lot of social, cultural influences that maybe go against human nature in terms of maintaining good health and happiness when it comes to dopamine. So I'm going to go into that in a lot of detail at the end of this video, because I think that's probably the most important one to understand and the least understood, the most misunderstood hormone of all of them. So that's dopamine. And then if we dive into endorphins, again, a little bit misunderstood. Essentially, we get them from physical exercise. And I think endorphins are probably, of the four happy hormones, happy is health, right? Health is happiness. That's what we kind of do. You know, when we coach people, what we're really trying to help them with is achieving good happiness, good health. And health in respect of genuine health, not like fitness industry, lose weight, build muscle, tone up, transform your body. I mean like real, genuine, healthy in your body in terms of resisting illness and injury and being able to enjoy life and being in a good state of mental health and emotional health. That's what we're selling, like real health. That's what creates real happiness. And the way I look at endorphins is, you know, people go, oh, I love my exercise because it makes me feel good. And you're like, well, if we really kind of dive into the mechanic, endorphins are what we really get from our exercise, our physical exercise. And they're a painkiller, right? So they really inhibit pain signals. They help our body get through pain and stress, you know, and that's physical stress, that's emotional stress, mental stress. And when people start exercising and they feel better in themselves, they feel calmer, they feel like they're able to deal with whatever stress is going on in their life better. They start exercising more, and then they get, you know, more stress in their life, so they exercise more, and they exercise more, and they exercise more. And so then the positive side of endorphins that were helping me manage that stress is now starting to not have the impact on my health I want, because I'm probably creating so much physical stress through all the physical exercise I'm doing to get enough endorphins to deal with all my other stresses, my mental stresses, emotional stresses, all of it. That stops being a particularly kind of healthy habit. So yeah, endorphins, they're not a neurotransmitter like dopamine. So dopamine's signaling to so many different parts of your body. Endorphins are like a peptide, so they look a little bit more like an amino acid. And that's what they do. They kill pain, they sedate pain. And what I think is, because people aren't very good at regulating serotonin, oxytocin, and dopamine, serotonin and oxytocin especially have incredible impacts on our body's ability to heal itself and to calm ourselves and to kind of level our mood kind of thing, stabilize our mood. because maybe we don't deal with serotonin and oxytocin particularly well, we abuse endorphins and we go, right, I'm going to exercise more and more and more because I'm going to get more of these endorphins. Other ways that people get endorphins are laughter. So yeah, comedies, or yeah, just being one of those really, really funny people. That's one of the ways that some people deal with their stress. And what else? There's things like movies and music, computer games, I think, as well, probably fit into that category of numbing our body. I saw a funny video, it wasn't funny, but I saw a video talking about how, you know, movies, documentaries, computer games, all this stuff, social media, they're kind of distractions from us motivating ourselves to probably live more positive ways and to behave in more positive kind of ways with our routine. And so again, like dopamine, there's probably good ways of getting our endorphins up, and there's probably not quite as effective ways of us getting our endorphins up. And again, I think if we don't regulate serotonin and oxytocin, and then maybe dopamine as well, the need for feeling like we need more endorphins probably is even greater than it would be if we were looking at the balance across those 4 hormones a little bit better. So endorphins are pretty simple. But again, of all the 4 happy hormones, I think that's the one that people kind of dive into because it's quite simple. It's always going to make you feel better. But I wonder if it's more endorphins kind of numb, they sedate our bad stresses rather than actually making us feel lots better. And that's when you get into serotonin. And if endorphins are the ones that people really abuse, they try and get as much of our endorphins going as possible. I think serotonin is something that most people that I meet are dramatically lacking. So this is the one that if you want to feel better in yourself, listen to what I'm going to say about serotonin, because, you know, I guess for a long time we've heard people say the best doctors in the world are sunshine, mountains, oceans, rivers, forests. It's nature. And there's loads of physical science in that, because these are really positive ways for us to increase our serotonin levels. And like, why is that important? Well, serotonin, a little bit like dopamine, is a neurotransmitter. So what's a neurotransmitter? It's a chemical that lets one nerve cell communicate to another nerve cell. So we've got all these communications going across our body, the functions of our body. Serotonin, think about your sleep, talk about your appetite, your mood, your ability to heal your body. There's really powerful functions of serotonin that are going to impact so many other aspects of health, aspects of other hormones in our body. And so that's why I think it's a really important one for us to look at, and especially when we start looking at its ability to stabilize our mood and to give yourself clarity. I think sometimes I talk to my clients and they are obviously dealing with a lot of stress in their minds, but their brains are almost busy. There's a lot of noise in their brains, and maybe whether that feels like distraction or hyperfocus. If we can get our serotonin levels up, then it starts to give you this real calmness of how you can approach problems and create solutions and think in much more positive ways. So serotonin is a big one because, you know, right now I'm in a gym. You know, most people are working in offices. Kids for a lot of their day are going to be inside a school. They're going to be inside at home watching Netflix and YouTube and TV and all that kind of stuff. And obviously, talk about human nature, probably designed to be outside more than we are inside. Whereas modern life, we're inside more than we're outside. Serotonin is a mood stabilizer. How many people in the world right now don't feel particularly stable in their mood? You know, they feel anxious, you know, and there's a lot of mental health challenges going on right now. So what does that look like if we get people exercising a bit more to give them a little bit of pain relief and a sensation of wellness? What happens if we get them exercising outside more? So I'm in nature, you know, and my serotonin level comes up and all these functions of my body improve, my appetite, my sleep, my stability, my calmness in my mood improve. Probably going to start to see a lot less mental health kind of challenges kind of thing. So how can we get people outside more? Well, I'll talk about that at the end because I've got a really cool plan. But that's serotonin. And again, simple, get out in nature, practically, that's really hard for people. So that's one that if there's something I'm talking about that you think, God, that sounds like a real challenge for me in my life, in my routine, prioritize that one, because it's really important. It's so powerful. I can't recommend that kind of idea enough in terms of you maintaining good health. Recently, we took a group of our clients down to Lulworth Cove, which is a lovely part of the coast in the south of the UK. And the entire weekend was about health. But I don't think anybody that came on that kind of trip with us expected what they got from it, and expected the reasons for them to feel so positive about that trip being what they were. And that trip to me was about these 4 hormones: dopamine, endorphins, serotonin, oxytocin. And what we created was essentially a timetable where they were going to go through a weekend of thriving in abundance, of looking after regulating those 4 hormones. And they all came away feeling amazing, feeling calm. Some of them that were maybe in a kind of routine of really struggling with their sleep, getting to sleep, staying asleep, slept really well. And then at the end of that retreat, we talked about why. And this chat about hormones is kind of, I think, a big part of that. And obviously, yeah, getting people in those environments and getting people outside makes a massive difference to their health and their sensations of happiness, which is obviously going to impact our motivation for living that kind of life. And then oxytocin. Oxytocin's the last one to talk about. It's by no means the least important. Again, if you look at, I don't know, if you Google it, or you'll sort of find something that calls it the love hormone. So it's obviously massively to do and regulated by childbirth and sex, and so oxytocin, I guess, is like the social kind of hormone, because we get it from socializing, we get it from physical touch, we get it from petting animals. And oxytocin has a lot of functions in the body. More than anything, I think from a mood perspective, it's very much linked to anxiety and fear and depression. So if we're not regulating our oxytocin levels, you're probably going to feel anxious, you're probably going to feel depressed, more so than somebody that's actively trying to give themselves opportunities to regulate that hormone. And when I'm talking about regulating these hormones, daily health is a pursuit. So I'm not healthy, I act healthy. It's never something you get. So today, I exercised, I got outside, I'm trying to do as many of these behaviors as I can every day to stay healthy. If I stop the behaviors, I'll stop being healthy. And so, what you want to do is kind of, create a kind of a laminate of your daily hormone activities. And it's like, what are you going to do for dopamine? What are you going to do for endorphins? What are you going to do for serotonin? What are you going to do for oxytocin today? Because you kind of want to have an answer every day. Otherwise, you're not going to feel your best. You're not going to feel that happy. You're not going to feel that healthy. And all of your physiological, the other hormones, your digestive system, your adrenal system, your brain cognitive function, your mood, all of these other things are going to be dramatically impacted by you not looking after those 4 hormones. So they become really, really important. So it's definitely something that's worth spending a decent amount of time in. But so if that's a snapshot of like dopamine, endorphins, serotonin, oxytocin, I think endorphins people probably tank. They do and try to compensate for their stress by doing lots of physical exercise sometimes. And lots of physical exercise becomes a stress. So it can become counterproductive. Now, look, I do loads of exercise, so this is not me giving you an excuse not to do any exercise. But yeah, it's certainly not 2-3 hours of exercise a day. Train for 45 minutes really well, and you're doing amazing. Train for 10 minutes a day, and you're doing better than most of the people in the world. But you got to do something every day. I think going over 45 minutes for general health, for general life, is completely unnecessary. So if we do, a 5-10 minute warm up, 5-10 minute cool down, you're looking at something like 40 minutes of exercise to enjoy an hour. Does a workout have to be an hour? Absolutely not. If you've got 10 minutes, I would still be able to change your life. So find a way of using 10 minutes to do physical exercise every day, and you're going to feel way better for it. But serotonin is the one that I think is abused in terms of people don't look after it. You're probably spending more time inside than outside. If you can't change that, then do your very best to find 15 or 20 minutes outside every day. If you can do it near running water, amazing. In Japan, Japan's famous for having one of the healthiest populations in the world. And what they used to do a lot in terms of architecture was nearly every home was built with a water feature. And it's like, well, why? Running water has this amazing physical impact on our health and helps us with our serotonin levels. So, you know, in High Wycombe, you've got the Rye River, there's a waterfall in the park. Could you go and have a 15-minute walk out there and then back to your office? It would massively change the amount of serotonin you have in your body. If you did that kind of thing every day, it would be incredible. So running water or a forest is an amazing way of looking after your serotonin levels. Dopamine. I talked earlier about how dopamine is misunderstood because it's the reward hormone. I'm like, yeah, but the way that our body builds the most dopamine is in anticipation of that reward. So it's about getting excited. And there's loads of interesting examples of ways that people get addicted to how they get dopamine. That's the point, right? Dopamine is your motivation to do anything, or your perceived motivation to do anything. And that's really important because it's the perception that transforms how you're gonna approach different activities. Like I say, you got some people that they think of exercise as discomfort, effort, sacrifice, and they don't exercise. And you get some people like me that look at exercise like it's really exciting because I don't know what I'm gonna get from it. I know I'm gonna get something good. I know I'm gonna get something good from exercise, but I don't always know exactly what. And especially for me, I've maintained good motivation for exercise for 20 years because I've explored loads of different ways of exercising and they all do different things. So the more I exercise, the more I was like, well, I know anything that takes my physical effort is going to give me a reward. And yeah, it's the endorphins, but it's, you know, I'm going to get stronger. I'm going to maintain a nice body composition. I'm going to feel good about myself. And it's the excitement of almost not knowing exactly what I'm going to get that's always helped me explore different types of exercise and want to do it. So that's why I've been able to kind of exercise every day for 20 years and look forward to it. Do I love exercise sessions when my heart rate is jacked and my muscles are burning and so many things in my body are telling me to stop because I'm in that state of discomfort? Like, no, I probably don't love that sensation. I think that would be a really weird thing to be able to say. But I love the reward I get for putting some effort into my life and overcoming a challenge. A lot of my workouts look like challenges, not competition so much, because I don't think it's positive for most people to motivate themselves through competition, because competition is so connected to comparison, and comparison inevitably makes some people feel, or a lot of people feel, anxious. So when I work out, I'd create some random challenge that meant nothing to nobody because it was mine and it was like a challenge I'd set myself. And I had no idea if I was going to be able to do it. I had no idea what it was going to give me in terms of like physical results or whatever, but it was exciting. The perception of that reward was enough for me to have a go. So again, I'll talk about how I'm going to help maybe more people find that excitement in a challenge, in an adventure at the end of this video, because I think it's going to be something that will really help a lot of people with their motivation, with how they're going to get their dopamine and all the other hormones that we've been talking about. So yeah, reward and the perception of reward. So think about gambling. You pull the lever down on the slot machine and you know that something's going to come up. You know that there's an opportunity to win some money, but you don't know when you're going to win and you don't know how much you're going to win. So I put another coin in. I've completed a task. I've pulled my lever down. I don't know what I'm going to get. Nothing. Another coin. So they worked out addiction ages ago. Dopamine is addiction. You're going to get addicted to how you create it. So try and find a positive way of creating dopamine and get addicted to that, right? So for me, is the challenge of a workout. That was, a big part of how I would get my dopamine levels. I got into lots of sports that were they weren't necessarily a competition, but they were a challenge. So rock climbing, can I get to my V7? Can I get to my V8? So these are like the grades of the climbs. When I was snowboarding, can I do a 360? Great, I feel great. I got my 360. Can I do a 540? Great, feel great. Do a 720. But why did I keep going? Because I was addicted to the idea that I could get the reward that I enjoyed, but I didn't know when I was going to get it. I didn't know if it was this jump. I didn't know if I was even doing the right technique, but I kept trying because I was excited, because that's what dopamine is. It's your excitement to perform a behavior or not to perform a behavior. So again, I've got these exercise examples. This person thinks exercise is effort, sacrifice, discomfort. Me, anybody that finds exercise and the reward in it will find it really exciting, really motivating. And there's loads of examples of how people have learned about addiction, right? So scrolling through your phone, we pull down, the little wheel pops up, and you don't know what you're going to see. Maybe it's going to be one of your buddies, maybe it's going to be an advert that you want to see, maybe it's going to be an advert that you don't want to see. But inevitably you're going to pull down again because you don't know, and the anticipation of that dopamine release is going to kick in, and all of a sudden you're in a scroll hole and you're addicted to social media. What else do people get addicted to? Drugs and alcohol. So drugs are an interesting one, because the way that your body creates dopamine is you've got a cell, and that cell is going to create dopamine, and all the good stuff, that neurotransmitter, it's going to control your motor control. It's going to control the release of loads of other hormones in your body. It's going to control your motivation, right? Wants to get recycled back into the cell that created it. Now, when you're taking like drugs, alcohol, your body releases dopamine, and it blocks your body's ability to recycle that dopamine into the cell that created it. And that is a disaster, because now your body knows how to get dopamine with the drug, and it cannot make it again on its own. So all of a sudden, you've got to get your dopamine from that drug over and over again. So that's how drugs become incredibly addictive. So again, finding these more holistic, natural ways of creating dopamine in a positive way is what we've got to try and achieve. So we have to get excited about the perceived reward. And so when we look at this person who hates exercise, it's effort, it's uncomfortable, I'm going to hate it, I'm going to want to throw up, I'm going to have to sacrifice loads of other parts of my lifestyle. I would go, well, no, don't do that. Don't sacrifice anything. Like, I don't sacrifice stuff. I live exactly the way that I want to live, right? So how can I get that person to start to look at exercise like something different? Well, they need to see that it works. And I think some people have come to exercise from horrific backgrounds in terms of how they've been introduced to it, right? So, sport at school, and I was rubbish at football. So all of a sudden I was embarrassed and I didn't want to play football anymore, and I wasn't that kid, and I was rubbish at athletics. I didn't want to do PE. Or, you get told by the teacher or the other kids that you're rubbish. And so all of a sudden you're like, I don't identify with that group. I'm on the out of that group. I'm not in that group. So you start to, again, have these hormonal reactions to when you're in those environments, that you become very defensive. That's one of the things that oxytocin does. So if I'm within a crowd, a community that I like, I will behave very differently in my behavior to if I'm in a crowd that I don't identify with. So if you're one of those people that don't identify with, exercises, people that enjoy being active in their lifestyle, you're almost going to be defensive when you're around them. So that's one of those things that we have to kind of try and overcome. And hopefully, the more communities, health communities, fitness communities, different gyms, different kind of groups of people that maybe are active, that you spend time with, you might start to find common ground with them. It doesn't have to be exercise, it can be anything. And so, we take this person that maybe their thing is, finishing their working week on a Friday, and they're gonna start drinking beer, right? That's their reward. They know that they're gonna enjoy having a beer. They don't know what's gonna happen that night, but that perceived reward of getting to a pub and having a few beers is their reward. Well, most people are gonna probably either get a taxi or drive to a pub. So it's like, well, how can we change that behavior? Let's walk to the pub, right? Because then all of a sudden I'm probably going to be outside. Maybe I can walk through a woodland area kind of thing to get to a pub. Maybe I can go for a bigger loop, or whatever. But all of a sudden, rather than changing your habit, rather than sacrificing the beer you've had on a Friday, you just start to piggyback a new habit into the old habit. So you're not getting rid of the old habit. We're just adding something into that routine. And then I'm going to be outside, getting my serotonin levels up. I'm going to be walking. I'm going to get my physical activity in. So my endorphins are going to come up. I'm going to complete a task. I walked somewhere. One of the most motivating things you can ever do is walking to the top of a mountain, walking to the top of the hill, because you've completed a task. You're going to get a lot of motivation from that. And so the more we can build these kind of positive motivations, these positive ways for you to get dopamine into your life, you're going to see every function of your body improve. You're going to feel less anxious. You're going to be able to manage any issues with depression more effectively. You're going to sleep better. Your appetite will be easier to regulate. Every other hormonal function in your body will be better regulated through dopamine working better. Your body will heal itself quicker through things like serotonin and oxytocin working better. If we get our endorphin levels up, you can deal with all stress better. When I meet people and they say, I'm really stressed, I'm like, cool, let's go and train. I'm like, I don't train. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Just come and beat me up. Like, I'll hold the pad and you can just beat me up for like 5 minutes. How do you feel now? I feel so much better. It's not magic. It's not voodoo. It's not a mystery. Exercise works. And if you're going to smoke and if you're going to drink and you're going to have a bad diet, these are 3 of the worst behaviors in terms of health that we have in the UK. Then exercise. Because if you smoke and you drink and you've got a really bad diet and you exercise, you're probably going to outlive somebody that doesn't smoke, doesn't drink, doesn't have a bad diet, and doesn't exercise. So the most powerful behavior of those 4 behaviors is exercise. If you don't exercise, it's going to be very hard to live a healthy, happy life. If you do exercise, it's going to be way easier to live a healthy, happy life. So you don't have to sacrifice all these other things I think people associate with good health, good diet, good hormonal balance. It's just not true. We can start to piggyback some of those other habits. Habits are really important for our survival. There's no way that you would be able to function if your brain had to think about everything that we actually do. So many of these things are habits. So habits are like memories that become these automatic kind of behaviors that we can do without even thinking about it. So if you've got a bunch of those habits that maybe aren't the best in terms of health, don't worry about it. What can we do to piggyback, to add a new habit into what you already do? And could that be exercise? Could that be going out for a walk near a river, running water, in a forest, near a mountain? That would be amazing, right? If we can build in physical touch, hugging, a martial art like wrestling or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu where there's physical contact, anything like that, petting animals is going to help you with your oxytocin levels. So all of a sudden we've got some really simple ways that every day you would be able to find a way to regulate these hormones. And if you do that, I think you're going to do really well. So what you guys are going to see next month from August is we're going to drop our first Tri-Venture. Now Tri-Venture is this idea of motivation and helping more people enjoy health that I've been working on for a long time. Because like I said, most people in exercise in the fitness industry, they're motivated by a long-term target, a long-term goal. And I totally get why the fitness industry kind of focuses on goal setting. I don't, because I think it's, again, almost against human nature to think that far ahead. I just focus on today. If I do really well today, and I do something that's going to put me in a better mood today, and I'm going to do a bit of exercise that I feel excited to do today, I've got that perceived anticipation of a reward for this kind of idea that I got about a workout or a challenge that I want to take on, I'm just going to focus on today. And if I do that tomorrow and I do that the next day, then I'm doing great. Tri-Venture is this idea of giving you guys 3 adventures, 3 challenges that you can approach any way you want. So if I show you 3 challenges and you think, right, those 2 are rubbish, but that one I'm excited about, that one I don't know what I'd be able to achieve. I know I'd be able to do it, but how much could I do it? How many minutes could I clock up? That's what we want to kind of do with Tri-Venture, to give you guys the freedom of taking on these 3 different kind of adventures in a month, and how much of them can you get done? What new skill could you learn in a month with our coaching? So if you're part of the Infinity 7 coaching group, we'll drop that Tri-Venture Challenge at the start of August, and all through August, as a part of the programming that you've had done for you for your own personal goals, as part of all the other coaching that we're going to go through in terms of the Infinity 7 kind of concepts, the 7 steps of health, we're also going to be adding in this Tri-Venture just to keep it fun. Because if you've got that anticipation of, I don't even know what the next month's Tri-Venture is going to be, you're going to stay motivated, you're going to live that healthier lifestyle, you're going to feel happier in your routine. So yeah, Tri-Venture is something that I'm really excited about kind of launching, and I think it's going to help a lot of people just be excited about living that active lifestyle that we know is the absolute foundation of being healthy and feeling happy. So that's where, you know, that focus of these 4 hormones came from, because we think of them as happy hormones, and it's like, yeah, they are about feeling happy, but we feel that because they are the absolute foundation of us being healthy. So rather than worrying about, you know, your testosterone levels, your estrogen levels, your cortisol levels, or your thyroxine levels, what you want to do is focus on these 4 and carry on looking after, you know, whatever imbalances you might have. You know, that's always going to be something you've got to do. You know, if I injure my shoulder because of my tight lat, I'm not just going to stretch my tight lat, I'm going to fix my shoulder as well. But I guess what I'm trying to say is if you're not looking after these 4 happy hormones, the ones that really are the foundation of our health, you're not going to be able to fix any other imbalances in your body particularly effectively. So make them a priority. And again, as part of the Infinity 7 coaching group, I'll be adding a lot of practical ideas about how you can monitor your routine in terms of the 4 key hormones for health, and give you lots of ideas for how you can kind of practically try different things that will fit into your routine. All of it won't fit for your life. What I do won't work for you. But if we work together, we are going to be able to find the right solution. So this is the whole point of us having this community chat on the Infinity 7 group, where you guys can ask me anything, ask me for help anytime you need it.